Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. I just have to tell you, as I came to the microphone and I said, hello, my beautiful friends, it dropped me right into my heart. There's so much love gathering here for you in this moment, and I want to affirm that. So if you've been listening for a while, you know that I am an angelic practitioner and a spiritual teacher and an encourager of souls. I just love saying that. It makes me happy every time I do. And I've been doing this work full time since 2006, which is amazing. I always tell people anything is possible. If I can earn my living doing this work, anything is possible. Because it just seems so weird and awesome at the same time. And I do one-on-one angel sessions and a longer form of support, soul mentoring, and different classes. I offer a different class every 6 weeks or so to inspire you and help you come into the light and heart-centered community. You know, I think so many of us are feeling isolated these days, and it's one of the reasons I love doing my classes, because we meet over Zoom, and I love getting to have a personal relationship with the people who take my classes. It's lovely. It's supportive for me and for the group. And I feel so blessed that I get to do this journey with you. And this podcast that you are listening to is intended to help you rest and strengthen your connection with your angels, and also drift off to sleep if it is that time of your day or night. So I started listening to sleep podcasts, I think in 2015, and I really came to love them. I still listen to one every night, and it invokes something for me that is a sense of warmth and comfort that I think goes back to my childhood. We lived in a 2-story house, and at our bedtime, when my sister and I would be put to bed, there was still always noise in the house. Not noisy, just noise, ambient noise. The television would be going. I would hear my parents talking. And there's something about a mumbling, a narrative that you don't have to pay attention to me, that helps me drift off to sleep. It's the sweetest thing. And of course, then there is the archetypal sense of comfort that comes from a bedtime story. So this episode's going to run about an hour, because that's my preference as a listener of sleep podcasts. You need not stay riveted the whole time. This isn't the kind of podcast where I'm going to talk about something really important. So if you want to just put it on in the background, or play it while you drive to work, or go for your walk, or drift off to sleep, it's that kind of podcast. I try to be amusing somewhat and bring you meaningful conversation. So it's a blend. I'll talk to you about the food I love. We'll go through an old TV guide. I'll bring you angel messages. Basically, it's a window into my life, because this is a reflection of all the things that are present in my consciousness and life. And if we had the kind of intimate friendship where we were getting together for lunch and going for walks together, these are the conversations we would have. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. So this part of the episode is where at some point I will bring in the angels and talk to you about something that will inspire your heart, hopefully. And then the second part is story time. And that's where I will, who knows, share with you something from my life, read to you a little bit. And I always put in the show notes the timestamp of when the story time begins. So you're welcome to listen to one part or the other or all of it. Whatever works for you is good for me too. And I do have an ask, a request. If you are enjoying the podcast, would you be so kind as to leave a review on iTunes or rate it on Spotify or share it with a friend? It helps other people find the podcast too, so thank you for that in advance. So as I record this, the sun is just getting ready to come up. It looks like it's going to be a little bit of a cloudy day here. But I love this time of day because the darkness turns into light. The silhouettes of the trees become more visible. And I just love this. It feels like it's a time when the world breathes itself open. So I invite you to take a breath, just breathing in the goodness that is with you right now, the goodness you're aware of, or the goodness that you are not. Just to breathe into the possibilities of goodness that are here for you right now. As I record this, it is the middle of November 2023, and there is a lot going on in the world, which I will not be talking about. But I feel like I just have to mention it in acknowledgement that you may be feeling more tired than usual, more emotional than usual. And if you are, it's understandable. Which is why this podcast is infused with love for you. This is an oasis. This is a place where you can come and be loved and supported and receive. So I invite you to get comfortable in whatever way works best for you. I enjoy listening to my sleep podcasts from the coziness of my bed. As I shared with you before, I sleep with lots of pillows and as many blankets as I can get away with without getting too hot, which is really an art form because I don't like to sleep hot. And there's a siren in the background. Okay, everything's okay. It's a prayer request. It doesn't sound like it's too loud though, so I can't decide if I should pause. Okay, I'm going to keep going. There you go. It went off into the distance. So as I was saying, I sleep with as many blankets as I can without getting hot, which, there's a whole intuitive process to it. At this moment, I have one extra blanket on the bed. I am hoping I get to go for a second soon. It has to get to about 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit for that to happen. If it's warmer than that, I'll get too hot. And my husband and I both like to sleep in a cold room. So in the winter, we turn off our heat. But we're also in Northern California and not Wyoming, so it works. We might wake up and the house will be 57 degrees. But I'm under a lot of covers, so I don't care, and I usually sleep really well. But we're not quite there yet. I think it's about 64 or 65 degrees now when we wake up. So how about you? What is your recipe for the perfect bed? Do you roll yourself up in the blankets like a burrito? Do you just sleep with a sheet? Are you a side sleeper or a stomach sleeper? We all have our own way of sleeping. And I think there is something, there's this just so delightful about that bedtime can be such a lovely time. It means our day is over and we get to drift off into that beautiful mystery of sleep. I had some really sweet dreams last night now that I'm thinking about it. In one, I was with my mom, who passed away in 2019. And I was so happy to see her. In my dream, I was like, Mom. I was so happy to be with her. And she looked great. And I was with other family, and I don't know, I think our dreams are fascinating, and I appreciated getting to have a Dreamtime visit with my mom last night. Filled my heart, still fills my heart. So when I say I wish you the sweetest of dreams, I really mean it. You know, we don't necessarily get to program our dreams, but isn't it lovely when the great remote control of consciousness lands us in a dream that is sweet and comforting? So I wish you sweet and comforting dreams. So let me call the angels in. They are already here. But I love sharing the ritual with you. So beautiful angels on high, I am so grateful for this opportunity to come together with you in service to each of our beloveds listening to this broadcast. I ask that you join us here and that you infuse this episode with waves of love and comfort and healing in service to our highest and best good. And angels, I ask that you lift our burdens, especially those we need not carry, clearing our energy field through the heart of love, through the heart of God, to help us each remember that we are divine beings in human form. And angels, I ask that you hear the prayers of each of our listeners, each of our friends here, amplifying their friends in service to the highest and best good. So dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in and out, allowing the angels to meet you where you are. I shared that little pearl of wisdom with you before. Let the angels meet you where you are. I think sometimes on the spiritual path, we think it's all about raising our energy, ascending so we can commune with higher realms. I promise you the angels can meet you where you are. Sometimes ascending our energy or consciousness is helpful because our perception opens up more. But the angels are with you through everything. So I love that invitation. Invite the angels to meet you where you are. They'll do the heavy lifting. So just take a breath in, allowing the love to be present with you. That the angels are aware of what is transpiring in your life, and they're here for you right now. They are helping to soothe your physical body, your mind, your emotional heart, and your spirit. They are helping you remember who you are as a divine being in human form. Your spirit is mighty. You are filled with light. You are filled with light and goodness. And we are so deeply grateful for the gift of you. And just now imagine that the angels are filling your room with a beautiful soft pink light that is filled with love that has been calibrated just for you. And this light can expand throughout your home. It can expand to everyone you love, everyone who loves you and beyond. And you don't have to worry about expanding this. The angels will do this on your behalf. You know, our lives are a ripple of goodness, a ripple of experiences. And so I always like to ask the angels to ripple this love throughout the timeline of my life, past, present, and future. rippling beyond time and space. And then just take a breath, allowing the love to be present for you and with you. I just feel such a sweet sense of love with us right now. And in my mind's eye, I just see different shades of pink light. And it's okay if you don't see them. I just share that with you because sometimes people like a visual representation. So my sweet and lovely friend, I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in. And we're going to move on into story time. I'm going to share with you some stories. And I'm so glad that we get to have this time together. So this episode is going to drop the Sunday before Thanksgiving 2023 here in the U.S. And I know I've recorded a Thanksgiving episode before, but rather than giving you a replay, I thought I would just record another one. And there will be some of the same stories, but here's the good thing. You live a whole life out there, and I have no expectation that you are going to remember what I told you last year, because I can't quite remember what I told you last year. If you do have a photographic memory and you're thinking, oh no, Laurel's telling that story again, we'll just go with it anyways. And I do have a Trader Joe's Fearless flyer for Thanksgiving that I'm going to share with you. So I do have some new material as well. And I know that we have those of you who listen from outside of the U.S. and don't celebrate Thanksgiving. But since I'm here and it's Thanksgiving and it's what I can ramble about for the next 40 minutes, this is going to be our theme for this story time. So I grew up in the Chicago area. And so throughout my childhood, there was a consistency about Thanksgiving. It was always cold because it was winter in Chicago. And my Aunt Jane always hosted Thanksgiving. My mom did the Hanukkah party, and Aunt Jane always did Thanksgiving. And back in the day, like back in the 60s and 70s, when there was a major holiday, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, everything was closed. Everything was closed, I think, except for the White Hen Pantry, which was our version of 7-Eleven. It's not like it is these days where some things are open, and there was a quietness to the world because everything was closed on Thanksgiving. And we would spend the day in the warmth of the house, maybe playing games, maybe going outside. There was probably always football on in the background or an old movie or something. And then it would be time to go to my Aunt Jane's house, Aunt Jane and Uncle Maury, because it was his house too. And we would go to their house for Thanksgiving dinner. And we always ate it at dinner time, which dinner time in the U.S. would be about 5 or 6 o'clock. So whenever we went there, it would be dark out. So I have this very visceral memory of being in the cold car because they only lived about 2 miles away from us, so it wasn't enough time for the car to get warm. So we would be all bundled up, and then we would drive over to their house and get out of the car, so it would be cold, and ring the doorbell. And then the door would be answered, and we would enter this home filled with warmth and the most wonderful aromas. My mom and her sister were of the generation of women who went all out cooking for the holidays. There was none of this shortcut stuff or I'm going to get it at the store. They cooked everything. I mean, how they did this, I don't know, because they both also worked. So we would walk into the house and just be met with this infusion of the most delicious aromas coming from the kitchen. And you would have to go through the kitchen to get to the dining room. And it was a small kitchen. But usually somebody was standing over the turkey, carving it. And there would be stuffing, some form of potatoes, I'm sure. The turkey was the star of the show. Sorry, vegan friends. But it was. It was the 60s and 70s. We were mostly omnivores at that point. And so you would pick a little piece of turkey or stuffing as you were going through the kitchen into the dining room. Oh, and of course there were always candied yams, for sure. And we always had this beautiful Thanksgiving dinner cooked by my aunt. And it was a huge part of my childhood memories. And one of the things I think is so wonderful about our memories is they can continue to bring us joy. And I didn't know I was going to do this, but I want to share with you an excerpt from John O'Donohue's book, Walking in Wonder, just about this very thing, about our more joyful memories. So he writes, "So is there a place where our vanished days secretly gather? I think there is, and I believe the name of that place is memory. Memory to me is one of the great sources, one of the great treasure houses of wonder. You look at humans walking around on streets, in houses, in churches, out in fields, and you realize that each one of these creatures is carrying within herself or himself a whole harvest of lived experiences." And then he goes on to say, memory now seems to be focused almost exclusively on past woundedness and hurt. Some of it is induced, some of it is real. It's sad that people don't use their good memories and revisit again and again the harvest of memories that is within them and live out the riches of that harvest. Isn't that beautiful? And I think about this as we're talking about Thanksgiving. I'm 61 years old, and throughout my life I've had not great Thanksgivings, for sure. But I've had some really wonderful ones. And so I love revisiting the wonderful ones. That experience of coming out, of the cold into my aunt and uncle's house. And the infusion of family and happiness and deliciousness and ritual. I let that be the loudest voice in my memory this time of year. Because it's easy to miss the ones we love or to feel lonely. And listen, it's understandable if those things are present. But I'm going to be sharing with you some of my happier memories because it delights me to revisit them. My mom and my aunt made it look so easy to make these big meals. And I will tell you, I did not inherit that gift. I get so overwhelmed. The timing of everything. You have limited oven space, so how do you cook everything so everything is ready at the same time? And then needing serving dishes and serving spoons and getting everything on the table so hopefully you can actually sit down and eat with your guests. I'm terrible at that. My husband and I set the bar pretty low in terms of our endeavors to entertain people, meaning feed them. My husband has 4 children who I love very much. And there's one son-in-law and one future son-in-law, and then also the kid's mom. So our holidays can involve a lot of people, and we are still practicing safe distancing. So we only entertain when we can eat outside because our house is very small. So having that many people in the house is challenging in the best of times, much less if somebody has a cold or worse or something. So we eat outside. And, as you know, if you've been listening, I have been having a very difficult time with everything that is transpiring in the world. And I did not know if I was up for Thanksgiving this year. We don't really do much for it, but even the little that we do, I didn't know if I was up for it. And then I was talking with my stepdaughter's fiance, and we talked about Thanksgiving, and I called up Wes. I said, you know what? We have to do this. I sometimes need to be reminded that it's not all about me, that when we invite the family to get together, it is about everybody else as well. And so I called Wes. I said, you know what? We're going to have to do this, and I don't know that I'm up for it, but let's make it easy. And we'll lower expectations. And so I sent an email out to the family, and I said, so this is a tentative invitation to you for Thanksgiving. So it's contingent upon the weather, that we can eat outside. Second, that nothing horrific happens in the world that just makes me want to crawl in bed for the day. Like, let's see what happens. And if you're okay with hot dogs or pizza for Thanksgiving, come on over. It'll be fun. It's like the worst invitation ever, right? And it was all I had. It was all I could do. That was it. That was going to be as much as I could open up to show up for the holiday this year. And thankfully everybody said, yes, of course, for sure. We're coming. So I really look back in absolute wonder at my aunt who did the whole thing. The whole thing. And she baked her own pies. She did everything. And she put out the nice dishes and the silver and the crystal glasses that all needed to be washed by hand. She did the whole thing, the serving pieces. You know what I do? I serve on chinette and plastic utensils. Here's a garbage bag. Throw it all away at the end. I'm done. Thanks. See you next year. I am not an entertainer. Which surprises me because you would think that I would have inherited that from the women in my family. I come from a strong matriarchal line. I even have my grandmother's china. I mean, I could do the whole thing. You know, I had a friend years ago. I was socially friends with her. I wasn't best friends with her, but we were in the same social circle. And she had 2 young kids. She was married with 2 young kids, and they were going to be celebrating Passover by going camping. And she was going to be packing up their china and their silver for their Seder while they're camping. And I said, oh my God, but what if you break a plate or something? She says, so you break a plate, so what? It's all about the memories. And I remember just marveling at her, thinking, I want to be more like her. This resilient spirit that says, I'm going to take my good china to camp. Who cares? If a plate breaks, it breaks. So what? It's about the memories. Versus me, that gets so overwhelmed. I'm like, here's a piece of chinette and a plastic fork. Have a good time. Throw it out when you're done. So, I know you're all now wishing you were coming to my house for Thanksgiving, aren't you? You're like, oh, Laurel. So, our meal, I'm just laughing because it's really sad. Our meal is going to probably be hot dogs I may make some cranberry chicken. I'm not committing to it right now. I'm going to have to see how I feel. I am going to make a big bowl of the Mediterranean salad from Costco that comes in the bag. So you just open the bag and you pour in the dressing. But it's a really good salad, so I will be serving that salad for sure. There will be some kind of bread. Maybe I'll get Hawaiian rolls. Again, easy peasy, right? And a bag of chips. This sounds like the saddest meal ever, doesn't it? I'm so sorry. It's all I have the energy for right now. But it's all about the company. Yes, I'll have grapes. I'm going to get the really good grapes that are up right now. The Autumn Crisp green grapes that are delicious. And I'm going to do my best not to judge myself too harshly. Especially after telling you about how wonderful my aunt was at entertaining us for Thanksgiving. I wish I could do that, right? Like the whole thing. Like bring out a beautiful bird. Although, honestly, my husband and his kids do not want traditional food. We would always have non-traditional food for the holidays. So our traditional meals for Christmas and Thanksgiving would be piggies in a blanket, right? So you take a hot dog and cut it in half and put it in a crescent roll. The blue box, Kraft mac and cheese, and tater tots. Because the kids were young and those were their favorite foods. Like they didn't want a turkey and cranberry sauce. Who wants that? Give me piggies in a blanket and mac and cheese and tater tots, please. So our traditions together have always been a non-traditional menu for the holidays. So we're going to do some derivative of that this year. So I know it might sound super sad. But there is it's not as if I have always served the 10-course Thanksgiving meal and now they're just going to get a hot dog. Hot dogs have been a part of our family cuisine for a long time. It just sounds really sad the way I'm telling you. There's a lot of joy around our menu choices in this family. They have a very simple palate, which really serves me because I have a very simple preparation style. Because the truth is, if they enjoyed more of the foods I would prepare, I would have prepared them. For instance, every Thanksgiving for years, I lobbied for stuffing. I love stuffing, and I have a great stuffing recipe that includes cornbread, apples, pecans, and a bunch of other stuff. Which now I wouldn't cook it with pecans because Wes can't have them, but still, it's an awesome stuffing that no one was ever interested in. And I only know how to make enough stuffing for 10 people, so I don't ever make it anymore. I love making roasted vegetables. And it's, cut up sweet potatoes and butternut squash and carrots and broccoli and a few Brussels sprouts and leeks. And I might put a little bit of soy sauce on that or balsamic and herbs and some olive oil and roast those. Again, no one's really interested in it, so I eat them for the whole week when I make them. I also, even though it's not a Thanksgiving meal, I never miss an opportunity to make a kugel. I love a good kugel, and I make the best one ever, but no one's really interested. So part of the reason I don't cook these things for Thanksgiving is because no one's really interested in them. So we are going to have a very simple Thanksgiving meal, but we will be together, which is what really, really matters. And there will be laughter and conversation and a lot of love. So I am grateful for that. So whatever you're doing for your Thanksgiving, especially if you're here in the U.S., just whatever it is, it's okay, right? It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. And I thought what I would do to bring a little bit more festivities into this is I could share with you from the Trader Joe's Fearless flyer for November 2023. So those of you outside of the US, Trader Joe's is an awesome grocery store that carries almost exclusively all their own store brand stuff. And it's fantastic. And I will also say this time of year, right now, the grocery stores are crazy because everybody's preparing for the holidays. So I did do some shopping yesterday. I went to Trader Joe's, I stopped by Rayleigh's, and I went to Costco. Trader Joe's was moderately crowded. It's a very small Trader Joe's, so it's easy to get crowded. Rayleigh's not so crowded yet. Costco, mobbed. Costco was mobbed, but it was fine because I only needed a few things. But let's focus on Trader Joe's a little bit because it truly is one of my happy places. And maybe you've never been. Or maybe you go all the time and you're delighted to have somebody to share your love of Trader Joe's with. So this is going to be about turkey stuff, but I'm not going to read that part to you because I know some of you are vegan. So we're going to skip the animal-related products here. They are trying to get us to try their nut mix called Nuts About Rosemary Mix. So it is a nut mix in a canister, right? All good nut mixes come in a canister, don't they? And it has some rosemary, sea salt, and a blend of spices and a touch of sugar. It sounds fantastic. And there's almonds, cashews, hazelnuts, and pecans. So this is something I would love, but I'm the only one who eats nuts in my house. And Wes can't have pecans, so I wouldn't have this on a charcuterie board, which, okay, first of all, I would never make a charcuterie board, but in my fantasy of entertaining people, if I had a place to put these nuts, I wouldn't put them out because they have pecans. But if you were inviting me over and had a charcuterie board and put these on the board, I would be delighted by that. I would really like to try them. But I don't need a whole canister of nuts that only I am going to consume, because that's just bad news all the way around. They do have mashed sweet potatoes, and they're frozen. They come in pucks, and so you cook them. Here's the thing. I love a great baked sweet potato. I don't need the candied part of a sweet potato. I don't need it mashed. I like it either roasted or baked. And I love the Japanese sweet potatoes. They're phenomenal. And I like to get really the smaller ones and bake them. And then they're so awesome. So I would not be buying this, but that's okay. Maybe that's what you like. And they do have some mini marshmallows if you need them. They do have this thing called broccoli and cauliflower gratin. Gratin? I don't know, whatever it is. But typically that involves a bechamel sauce of some kind. Are you impressed that I knew bechamel sauce? They're saying it's a creamy, cheesy sauce. Okay, well, maybe not bechamel. So it has clearly broccoli and cauliflower, mozzarella, and other kind of cheeses. And so that sounds delicious. But again, we are a lot of people, and this would be a small container, so I'd probably have to get 3 of them, and then I don't think anybody would eat them. So it's part of that strategy of how you figure out how much food you need for how many people. And I think I've shared with you before, my cousin Susie Bleadon and I, we have this joke that no matter how much food we buy when we're entertaining, about 2 hours before everybody gets there, we get paranoid that we don't have enough, and we go out and we buy cheese. It's the emergency cheese platter. It must be a Jewish thing. Maybe it happens for Italians too. I don't know. Maybe universal. But no matter how much food I have purchased and prepared for whatever endeavor it is, I think it's not enough. And I go out and I buy cheese. So it used to be whenever either one of us was entertaining, we would call the other person because it would be before texting was a thing. And we'd say, did you buy the extra cheese yet? Did you buy emergency cheese? Because you always need emergency cheese when you're entertaining. Okay, then they do have their cornbread stuffing. So in the past, I have purchased their prepared cornbread stuffing from the refrigerator section so that I could have a little bit of it, because I do love stuffing. I don't know that I'm going to do that this year. I've kind of been ODing on bread a little bit. Reference the episode about Kammerspeck. And I don't know that I'm going to get myself stuffing this year. I'm not necessarily feeling driven to Thanksgiving like foods. But then again, Thanksgiving is 6 days away, and that could change between now and then. And they have roasted cauliflower and orzo. If you served that to me, I would probably take a spoonful and think it was good, but it's not something I would buy. And then they do have Trader Joe's Thanksgiving stuffing seasoned kettle chips. So they're kettle chips seasoned with all of the stuffing spices. Now, I've had them before, and they were okay. I know some people love them, but I wasn't over the moon about them, so I don't get them anymore. They also have, of course, cranberry sauce, for sure, right? And they have herbe de Provence potato wedges, which are frozen, so that's always good to throw things in the freezer. The freezers, which are great mysteries in our homes, yes, of different foods and variety of things you can get, when you need something out of the freezer, right? The freezer is its own realm of food choices. When do you know that you need to pull something out of the freezer to make for dinner? So you want a variety of things, right? And then they're telling us a little bit about their cheese section. So they have the unexpected cheddar, which is a really good form of cheddar cheese. They have 1,000-day Gouda. I do like Gouda cheese. I think I've shared with you before, I'm the only one in our house that eats cheese. Well, no, that's not true. Wes eats cheese on a sandwich, so if we're making sandwiches, I'll get the sliced cheese and put it on his sandwich. So he likes cheese on a sandwich, cheese and pizza, of course, and mac and cheese. But in terms of snacking cheese, he's not in that realm. So I go to Whole Foods up in Napa, and they have this basket on their cheese counter where they put little noshes of cheese. So I often will get, little samplers of little bits of cheese that I can have on my crackers later. But Trader Joe's does not offer such a thing, so you have to really commit to a whole wedge, which I typically don't do. And they also have sheep's milk cheese from Spain. I'm sure it's delicious. In case you're wondering, my two favorite cheeses from Whole Foods are the Drunken Goat cheese. I love that stuff. And then the 3-month Manchego cheese. Both are fantastic. And happily enough, when I cannot make it to Whole Foods, Berkeley Bull does have the Drunken Goat cheese. So if you are in the Bay Area and happen to be at Berkeley Bull, check out the Drunken Goat cheese. It is delicious. Okay, now we're into the section of the Fearless Flyer where we're talking about stuffing. So you can prepare your own, and they have all the ingredients for it. They have mirepoix already prepared for those of you that watch a lot of Food Network or have taken cooking classes. You will know that mirepoix is a French term referring to chopped carrots, celery, and onion, the holy trinity of vegetables that you use as a base for almost everything else you do. So the mirepoix is ready to use, so you don't have to cut it yourself. Again, not going to buy that because Wes doesn't like anything with onions in it, so that's a no-go for me. And also, I don't cook, so that's a no-go too because I don't cook. But if I did cook, I still wouldn't get it because Wes doesn't like anything with onions in it. They do have good broth, again, for your stuffing. All right, they do have fresh cranberry sauce and fresh cranberry orange relish. Now, I do buy the Ocean Spray canned whole cranberry sauce. It has to be the Ocean Spray in the can, the whole, not the jellied, for my very famous, at least to myself, cranberry chicken, which I have shared this recipe with you before. It's a very 1970s recipe. What you do is you take 1 can or 2 cans if you're making a lot of chicken of Ocean Spray whole cranberry sauce, a half a bottle of Catalina or French dressing, and 1 package dry of the Lipton onion soup mix. And you mix it all together and you pour it over the chicken. You can marinate the chicken in it for a little while, which I tend to do. And it's best if you kind of smush the chicken all together so that the cranberry sauce, the cranberry mixture, blend, kind of rests on top of the chicken rather than falling down to the bottom of the pan. And then you bake it. I don't know, I typically bake it at 375 for 45 minutes or something like that. Delicious. Cranberry chicken. I believe it's also known as polar chicken. I think it was one of those recipes that made the rounds in a women's magazine, probably in 1970. And everybody made this. So it is still one of my staples in my repertoire of things that I will cook. Cranberry chicken. I do have to give a shout out to my mom because she would actually make her own cranberry sauce. She would buy the bags of the Ocean Spray cranberries from the produce section and actually make her own cranberry sauce. And my dad loved it, so she would make that every year. Go, Mom. Awesome. Just so you know, I skipped over the alcohol section of things I don't drink, and so it brings me no joy to tell you about what they have. So we're going to skip over that. So now we're talking about side dishes. They have cute and colorful carrots. I don't know about you, but I love cute and colorful carrots. They say until only a few hundred years ago, carrots came in pretty much any color but orange. They were rich purples and reds and yellows and whites for thousands of years. Until in the 1600s, Dutch farmers crossbred yellow and red carrots to create the now familiar orange carrots, in honor of the Netherlands' national color. I did not know that. But now they have Trader Joe's Les Petites Carrots of many colors, which I have bought before. They don't taste any different than the orange ones. I just get them because it's kind of a novelty. They have Brussels sprouts. I did not grow up eating Brussels sprouts. I only really learned about them a little bit later in life. Wes doesn't like them, so I don't make them. And it's really, when I say that I don't make things because Wes doesn't like them, it's not like it's my favorite thing ever that I am giving up. There's zero energy around my not having Brussels sprouts, just so you know. Do not grieve that I am not eating Brussels sprouts because of Wes. It's all good. But if you put one on my plate, I'll eat it. But I'm not going to go out of my way to make it. They do have green salad in a bag, which is a phenomenal invention. Thank you to ever who thought of putting salad in a bag with dressing and some kind of topping. You've made my life so much easier, and now I eat more salad than I've ever eaten in my life. And my preference is the Mediterranean salad by Taylor, which is, and it may be a different manufacturer where you're from. It has the mixed lettuce, right, and some other vegetables, and it has the feta cheese and a balsamic vinaigrette. It does have some like chopped seasoned pita chips that I don't use on my salad, so I don't use that part. But I always have some variation of that in my refrigerator. Okay, off salad, they do have petite peas versus just regular sized peas. So these are Trader Joe's petite peas. I mean, I guess if you're going to have peas, petite peas sound lovely to have with your cute and colorful carrots. You could have a whole adorable vegetable homage for your meal. Okay, we're now in Casserole Confidential, is what they're calling it. There's cream of portobello, mushroom soup, and fried onion pieces. I always think I would like soup, and sometimes I do. I make actually a very delicious soup in the crock pot or slow cooker. I'll give you my secret recipe, which is not so secret. I take a box of Trader Joe's creamy tomato soup, which you can also get any brand from your supermarket, the boxed kind. And then I chop in a bunch of vegetables that have already been chopped by someone else. So I get the bagged of chopped vegetables, carrots and broccoli and cauliflower. So it's already been chopped up by someone else. I might chop them up a little bit smaller. I put in a can of beans. Any beans will do. And I might put in some of Trader Joe's frozen potatoes with green beans and mushrooms. And then I just leave that in the slow cooker. I put in just a bunch of spices. And it makes the best vegetable soup. And basically I did nothing. So, yay for that. So here they have a cream of portobello mushroom soup, which I'm sure must be delicious. They are going to have organic sweet potatoes available. Fantastic mini marshmallows. There's a recipe here for maple and harissa glazed sweet potatoes. I don't think that's my flavor profile, so probably not for me. Okay, we're now moving into the dessert territory. So they have a cranberry pie. Interesting. I don't know that I've ever had cranberry pie, which I wouldn't have now because I don't eat sugar. Pumpkin pie, of course, always. Again, I didn't enjoy pumpkin pie until I was much older, and it's not something I crave. If you put it in front of me and I was still eating sugar, I would have some of it. But it's not necessarily a food that I crave. It's not like this time of year I'm like, yay, I get to have pumpkin pie. I don't really care. But they do have autumn maple coffee. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but maple I much prefer over pumpkin pie in terms of flavor profile. They do have chocolate coins of the world. And so if you're Jewish, this is Hanukkah gelt, but it's not Hanukkah gelt because it's not, it doesn't have the dreidel on it and stuff, but we grew up calling this gelt Hanukkah gelt. But they do have coins of the world in chocolate. And they do have a giant chocolate coin this year that's like the size of your head. I saw that at checkout. They have organic crescent rolls in the tube. Who doesn't like that? Crack the tube open, roll them up, put them in the oven. You just baked rolls. That's my kind of baking. They have a cornbread mix. They have ciabatta rolls, and they do have everything but the bagel seasoned ciabatta rolls. I know this because I saw them yesterday at Trader Joe's. They do have a couple of different advent calendars. They have everything but the leftovers seasoning blend, which is fantastic. It's all of the seasonings that you would use for your turkey or stuffing on Thanksgiving. And it's fantastic to use all year long. Let's see if they tell us what's in that. It's a combination of savory herbs and spices plus 2 different yeasts, Baker's and Torula. It adds loads of umami flavor. It's really good. I always have that now in my spice cabinet. Not that I use spices very often, but when I do, it's there. They have fuyu persimmons. Again, I didn't really grow up with persimmons. They weren't available in the Chicago area growing up, but every once in a while I'll have one now and they're delicious. Oh, I didn't see this yesterday. Red currant scented foaming hand soap. What do you think red currants smell like? Do you think they smell like grapes? Huh, interesting. I might have to look at that next time I'm there. We also have the official Thanksgiving Trader Joe's crossword puzzle, which I'm going to skip over because I don't think it'll make me feel very smart. And I like my crosswords to help me feel intelligent, the way the TV guide crossword puzzle does. No offense, Trader Joe's. I don't have a relationship with your crossword puzzle, though. So I don't feel confident in my abilities. So we're going to pass on over that. And then, of course, they have canned pumpkin. They have puff pastry. Oh, here, this is the giant milk coin. It's called the capital THE milk chocolate coin. Each 3.17 ounce coin is artfully struck from our supplier's delightfully rich and creamy milk chocolate. They're $1.99 each. So if I was a kid, I would absolutely be tantruming at the checkout line to make sure I got one of those. I would be nice. I would be crabby. I would pull out whatever child-related stuff in my toolbox to get that coin for myself. Which would mean that my brother and sister would get one too, which would be fine. I had no problem with that. My mother would have probably gotten us one to share, which I hated because, listen, I wanted the whole thing for myself, for sure. And then how do you make sure that you all have the same amount? It's too complicated. But alas, I do not eat sugar anymore, so I can't even buy that for myself now. And the truth is, that's probably not the kind of chocolate I would get for myself anyways, but the child in me is absolutely delighted by the giant chocolate coin. And I do have to give a shout out to my one of my new favorite Trader Joe's products that is not in their Thanksgiving Fearless flyer. And I just went to the kitchen to grab a bag so I could describe it to you. It's dried Ataulfo. I think that's how it's pronounced. Ataulfo mango slices. I think those are the little yellow mangoes that are so sweet. They're organic. And so they're dried mangoes, which maybe you've had already, but these are unlike any other dried mangoes I've ever had. They might be seasonal, so I don't know how long they're going to be out. They're in sort of a beigey yellow package. So here's the thing, when you go to Trader Joe's, you're going to see their everyday dried mangoes in the clear package. Somewhere, though, there might be a little bit of shelf space dedicated to these dried Ataulfo mango slices. They are like candy, but have no additional sugar. I bought one bag just on a lark, and I went back yesterday and I bought 5 more. I was like, I don't know if these are going away, but I need more. So I bought 5 bags. I'm going to hoard them because they're good through July 2024. They are a little more expensive than the other dried mangoes. I think they're $4.99 a bag, but well worth it. So that is my homage, my friends, to Thanksgiving. Some rambling there for you. Some memories. A little insight to our family Thanksgiving this week, which will be lovely. I'm looking forward to having everybody over and making some more memories. and Trader Joe's Fearless Flyer, and I've also shared with you a new TJ's product that I highly recommend, 10 out of 10. And I hope you have a good holiday, my friends. I love you very much. And I'm grateful for this time together. We'll talk again soon. So I wish you the sweetest of dreams. And I love you. Thank you.